Bama lost to Auburn in a pretty tough game on Saturday in Tuscaloosa, but there's a lot of positives to talk about, and we're going to talk about it here on Catfish Courtside. Obviously, this isn't Catfish. He's on a cruise right now. So I'm Catfish today, and I'm going to tell you guys why I feel like Alabama's going to rebound from this game, but what they did wrong. Let's get into that right here on Catfish Courtside on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. You better hang with me. You guys like that when we talk basketball, a lot of you guys run. Listen, Bama's still a number one seed, even though they lost to Auburn, and there's still a lot to play for. Got to support them guys. Roll Tide. What do you say, everybody? Mick Gillespie in for Chad Anderson. Welcome to Catfish Courtside, brought to you by New Life Art. Use our promo code Bama Tailgate, and when you do that, right now, the Heisman Heights, Devontae Smith catching that touchdown, high pointing it in his Heisman season of 2020 at newlifeart.com, 25% off. And then Crimson Redemption with Jalen Hurts, who led the Eagles to the Super Bowl, 25% off that print too. Take advantage of it. And Roll Tide. All right, let's talk some basketball here today on Catfish Courtside. First off, I got to say this, man. The Fluffopotamus. If you guys don't know about Fluff, this was the guy that kind of put together the student section and wore the hard hats and the jackets. And I knew him from R&R Cigar, great guy. He would not have believed. Love the basketball program. The scene that you guys created, Coleman Coliseum on Saturday. That, to me, is the biggest takeaway of the entire show I'm going to do. Pat yourselves on the back. Roll Tide. I never thought Coleman could have that type of vibe, but it did. And we get another shot at him. I know we lost the game. But the first takeaway to me was just what electric you guys brought to Coleman Coliseum. All right, let's talk about the game. A lot of things that you could kind of look at. 94-85 loss to Auburn. Felt like Bama in the game just wasn't ready. You know, fell behind 9-0 early. I never felt like they were really there. You know, they tied them a couple of times, and then Auburn would go down and make a big shot. When I watched Auburn lose to Florida, the Gators were making the big shots in the game. You know, the threes, the big threes, you know. It just felt like Bama wasn't able to take advantage of those opportunities. And when you look at the stats, they were 5 of 26, only 19% from three. You got to get that up into the 30s or the 40s to win a basketball game like this. And Bama's two of their worst games this year have been at Coleman Coliseum, this one in the Ole Miss game. I didn't feel as bad about the loss to Oregon. And then playing at Purdue, it's a tough road game. You know, Purdue's still in the top 10. And you know, they'll contend for the Final Four. But this one at home against Auburn, you got to shoot better than that. I just didn't feel like they got good looks. And then when you talk about Bama's three-point shooters, Mark Sears, Aiden Holloway, Chris Youngblood, they were 4 of 18. And that's not good enough. But the other thing that Nate Oats talked about was that Mark Sears and Grant Nelson, and the reason that he used those two guys to set the example is because they're the two best players on the team. Said, hey, they've got to stop turning the ball over. And that, to me, says it all. You got to protect the basketball. And that's something that Alabama did not do very well in that loss to Auburn. You know, and I'm going to talk about the positives with everything because it's not the end of the road. Okay. But what I will say, as far as this game is concerned, and it's one that you would have loved to have won just because so many people were paying attention, that you got to protect the basketball. And when you turn it over, you know, those turnovers are going to cost you. Bama had 7 turnovers. Auburn had 4 turnovers. And look, you're not looking at it and going, well, you know what, a sloppy play or whatever. At the end of the day, those matter when you're talking about elite competition. Bama out rebounded them. I think that Alabama will be a better team for this game. You got to shoot better from behind the arc. They were 40%, and Bama was 19%. They shot 46%. Bama shot 38%. You're not going to win those games at home when you don't shoot. But I love that he's talking turnovers because there's a lot of times where you feel like they're just throwing the ball around. You got to protect the basketball. And to me, like I said, I feel like as this season progresses, losing the first matchup with Auburn's not the end of the world. There could be one to go to the Final Four. There could be one in the Final Four. This may be the first time that you play them at four because you're going to play them at Auburn. You might play them in the SEC tournament. You might play them in the NCAA tournament, right? So you got to you take advantage of every lesson that you possibly learn from the game and grow from it. Not every player in the game had a bad game, even though Alabama didn't lose, right? Can't make as many mistakes. Obviously, got to start out the halves better, and and at the same time, got to get ready for the very difficult gauntlet that Alabama's about to run. But Nate Oats talked about Mo Diabate. He's like, hey, the guy didn't have a great statistical game, but he talked about how hard he played, how much he loves watching him, and and just talked about how he continues to develop. I've loved watching him develop as well, man. He's a force, and I hope that he ends up playing his entire career at Alabama. LeBaron Philon again was, to me, and Nate Oats talked about it. There's just something special about this guy. 10 points, made 3 of his 6 shots. And, he just gets on the court and you can just tell, man, there were a couple of really big buckets that Philon scored where you're like, man, this guy's just something about this guy. He can really play the game. And then finally, Cliff Amore, I thought, had a great game. And Nate Oats kind of reiterated that as well. He was so big under the basket. Nate talked about that defensively could have started the game better. But you know what? He by the end of the game, he had 12 rebounds. He was in there banging around with those Auburn guys. And, he had the dunk. I love Amore. And I think that when it's all said and done, and I think Alabama is a championship team this year, I think Amore is going to be one of the reasons why Bama is a championship team. So that's where we are. Now, guess what? You got to turn the page if you're Alabama and start looking at your next game. And you got Missouri. Guess what, everybody? You got Missouri on the road in 2 days. And they're ranked 21st in the country. That's another one of those late night games at Missouri. Then you get to come home and you get to play Kentucky. Then you get to play Mississippi State. Then at Tennessee. Then versus number 3 Florida, and then Auburn again. So you don't have any time to sit around and cry about the fact that you didn't win the game. But if you're going to lose one, this is the time to lose it because you go back to the drawing board, you get refocused, and you start talking about what you need to do better and executing that. This team's this close to being the best team in the country. And I think we got to remember that. And I can't believe I'm saying this because I think Coleman Coliseum's a dump. But you know what? Great atmosphere on Saturday. Congratulations, Alabama fans. That was awesome. Really cool watching. Make sure that you guys check out our other shows here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Following recruiting, we talked about a couple of guys, the 2 of the top receivers that Bama's recruiting that are going to the Polynesian Bowl, and Morgan and Keys. Morgan from Benjamin Russell High School, Keys from over in Mississippi. But Bama still looking for some guys to add to that recruiting class. And I think that's going to happen here soon. And we'll be following that right here on the channel. But like, subscribe, thumbs up. And don't forget, too, that we're brought to you by Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Was just there and already planning on a return trip because we love going over there. table games and slots at Golden Moon and Silver Star Casino. Don't fear the Reaper. Yeah, Blue Oyster Cult's going to be there. Yeah, think about the SNL skit where Will Ferrell's playing the cowbell. Yeah, don't fear the Reaper. Anyway, they're going to be at Pearl River Resort. Tickets are available. It's that time where you're starting to think about golf. Dancing Rabbit is the Augusta you can play. You got the Azaleas and the Oaks, 2 amazing golf courses. All that, Pearl River Resort. We'll do it again tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us. And everyone just hope that Chad's having a fantastic time floating around in the Caribbean. Roll Tide, everybody.
Escape to Pearl River Resort.